A fatal crash in the middle of rural Dodge County that the sheriff says for multiple reasons should never have happened in the first place. I'm Arman Rahman and I have details.
Plus, Wisconsin ice skating clubs are mourning those who lost their lives in the tragic plane crash in Washington, D.C. This as recovery efforts continue. And later, with less than a month to the primary, we sit down with DPI candidate Jeff Wright and what his vision for Wisconsin education would look like. And we welcome you now to News 3 Now at 6. Good evening, everyone. I'm Sarah Carlson. Eric is off. We begin today with an update on the deadly crash in Dodge County. The driver who caused the incident is now facing several charges, including homicide. According to the Dodge County Sheriff's Office, the driver allegedly took a company vehicle without permission and drove it under the influence and without a valid driver's license. He then drove through a stop sign, striking another vehicle. A 30-year-old passenger with that driver died at the scene, and 5 people in the other vehicle were also injured. Also in Dodge County, a man is in custody for allegedly stabbing another man. This incident happened Tuesday at a home in the town of Herman. Deputies say the stabbing stemmed from an argument between the two men. That suspect faces charges of first-degree reckless injury and aggravated battery. He was also booked on an outstanding warrant. And another development with both of these incidents, according to the Dodge County Sheriff, both of the suspects were undocumented, and Immigration and Customs Enforcement, or ICE, have been notified. He tells our Arman Rahman it's necessary for his community's safety to reveal that.
This was the scene of a fatal crash Sunday, which the Dodge County Sheriff's Office says took the life of the suspect driver's passenger.
The suspect wasn't supposed to be here in the first place.
Sheriff Dale Schmidt says according to ICE, the 32-year-old driver of the truck was not in the country legally, and the agency had placed what's called a detainer on him.
I can't arrest somebody for a federal immigration violation. That's the federal government. But I will participate and I will cooperate with them and give them information.
I asked him if it is common for his agency to report immigration status of people he arrests.
When we have a criminal activity like this, yes, I will.
According to UW-Madison law professor John Gross,
I would not say that is a common thing for law enforcement to do, at least in my experience.
Gross says immigration status is not relevant to a criminal case in state court.
You could have a prosecutor attempt to argue that shows, right, a willingness or to break the law, that it's something that could be held against the person by a juror.
However, Gross says both the crash and the stabbing, also committed by an undocumented immigrant, do fall under the Laken-Riley Act President Donald Trump signed into law this week.
The Laken-Riley Act does require the Attorney General to detain and initiate deportation proceedings against anyone who is even accused of a crime where there is serious injury or death.
The sheriff says there have been more cases of crime committed by undocumented migrants across the country and in Wisconsin.
One right here in Dodge County, a cartel member who was arrested twice.
Gross says statistics say otherwise.
People who are not citizens commit crimes at lower rates than citizens.
Overall, the sheriff says
it's hard to see these types of crashes, especially when it's needless.
Sheriff Dale Schmidt says the suspect will likely be booked into the Dodge County Jail this weekend. Reporting in Dodge County, Arman Rahman, News 3 Now.
And right now, recovery efforts are still underway after the mid-air collision between a passenger jet and military helicopter in Washington, D.C. Investigators have found the plane's 2 black boxes, which they hope contain a record of crucial flight details. Preliminary flight data indicates at the time of the crash, both the plane and helicopter were flying at about 400 feet. Now, military helicopters are supposed to stay below 200 feet. CBS News has learned 2 air traffic controllers were each doing multiple jobs at the time. The 67 victims of this tragedy include members of the U.S. figure skating community. Right now, figure skating clubs around Wisconsin are feeling the impact of this tragic plane crash. Andrea Brown is the president of the Waupun Figure Skaters and has a long history with the sport. The club registered with the U.S. Figure Skating Organization back in 1984 and says each competition is special, allowing athletes and teams to connect in a unique way. She says the loss has a powerful effect on the skating community.
Definitely impactful. Anytime we lose anybody in our skating world, it's definitely hard. We have a unique connection when it comes to figure skating.
Emma McTagg is the vice president of the Valley Figure Skating Club in Appleton. She and her daughter traveled to the U.S. Figure Skating Championships in Wichita, Kansas. Their club got the chance to meet one of the coaches who passed away in the crash.
I have no words other than he made our girls feel special as a coach of a high performance camp member. And we would keep bumping into him and laugh at seeing him all the time. And I will remember that.
Figure skating clubs plan to honor the lives lost in the tragic crash during their competitions this week with a moment of silence as well as a tribute during the synchronized skating routines. A Madison native is a member of the Skating Club of Boston, which lost 6 of their members during the collision. Moshima Vichramov said the entire team had a close relationship. 2 teenage skaters, 2 of their parents, and 2 coaches died. The entire skating club was together during a competition and training camp in Kansas just days before the tragedy.
Training, you are training with your teammates. You're not the only one on the ice when you're training. So in terms of the atmosphere during training, yes, it is a family. It's family oriented. Our coaches are like our parents, and we truly feel like they're kids. So we're all brothers and sisters.
He also said Boston is coming together during these hard times. We'll have the full story tonight at 10. Another pretty mild day in southern Wisconsin, although it sounds like some snow on the way. Is this true, Alex?
Yes, it's true. It's that roller coaster ride. It's one thing or the other thing. It's warm, it's cold. Now we're going to have the snow, and then it's going to get warm again. Future track snow having most of the snow accumulation with a weather system that will come through Saturday evening going into early Sunday north of the Dells up towards central Wisconsin. But that doesn't mean that we're out of the neck of the woods here in south central and southwestern Wisconsin, which I'll explain a little bit later in Maine weather. Then we turn our attention to Sunday. Our forecasted high on Sunday is 46 degrees. Could be a little bit warmer if we can break into more sunshine. What's the average high? 27 degrees. So another 20-degree day above normal is in the forecast come Sunday, behind the weather system that brings the snow chances. We're down to 34 here in Madison, still hanging on to the 40s, a tide 43 in Prairie du Chien and Boscoville right now, a little bit closer in Dane County. All 34s, a couple 35s. Edgerton down the road is at 36, and we still have 37 on the other side of the Wisconsin River in Sauk City. Tonight, temperatures, when you join us again for the 10 o'clock newscast, down below freezing. Will be colder tonight because we've lost the clouds that we had last night that held those temperatures up just a bit. And coming up in Maine weather, Saturday's snow event is not the only one that the First One Weather team is keeping a track on. I'm going to give you the latest updates on next Wednesday. It looks like next Wednesday we could be having a weather maker that we need to talk about in a few minutes.
All right. And it will be February. Thank you, Alex. Now, we have less than a month to the primary. 3 candidates are in the race to be the Wisconsin Department of Public Instruction's top official. This state superintendent oversees public education across the state. Our Ellie LaLiberte is profiling all of the candidates so you know what the future of Wisconsin education could look like.
State superintendent is a job that comes up every 4 years. 3 candidates are vying for that spot. Incumbent Jill Underly, education consultant Brittany Kinzer, and Sauk Prairie Superintendent Jeff Wright. Today, I sat down with Wright to learn about his platform for the future of Wisconsin education.
One of the most important functions of our government is providing a quality education for our kids.
Jeff Wright's campaign largely centers around what he calls, quote, mending relationships between DPI and the state's Republican-controlled legislature and Democratic governor.
I think that we want education to be a nonpartisan topic.
Noting his background as superintendent in Sauk Prairie. Sauk County, of course, known for its purple history.
As a superintendent, I have to make sure that everybody feels welcomed at the table because our community is so evenly split politically. And so is our state.
Wright is also critical of the current DPI administration's move to lower cut scores in 2024, essentially lowering the score at which students meet expectations and changing how students' progress is labeled. Wright says changing testing standards makes it harder to compare how students are doing year to year post-COVID.
Right as we're getting to the finish line, the state superintendent changes the cut scores, changes the standards.
In 2024, Wisconsin voters approved a record number of referenda to help fund schools.
That's a sign of a broken finance system.
Wright says he wants to change the state funding formula for public schools to prevent that.
One of the key areas that we can fix this is through special education reimbursement.
His campaign focusing on a message of change.
Because I think that our schools want a change in leadership at the department because they know that when our schools thrive, our communities thrive.
The field narrows to 2 candidates in the February 18th primary. Voters will make a final decision on April 1st.
All right, that's Ellie La Liberté. Thank you. If you would like to see Ellie's other 2 profiles, you can visit channel3000.com. Just go to the tab 3 for the People, Election 2025. Now, coming up on News 3 Now at 6, music's biggest night is almost here. When and where you'll be able to watch this year's Grammy Awards. Plus, President Trump plans to impose tariffs on imports from Canada and Mexico tomorrow. How those tariffs could have an impact on your wallet.
You're watching News 3 Now at 6.
Welcome back. The Trump administration is announcing that steep taxes on imports from Canada, Mexico, and China begin tomorrow. The U.S. will levy a 10% tax on all imports from China and 25% on all goods from Canada and Mexico. Mexico's Secretary of Economy warns U.S. consumers will face higher prices because of this. That could include everything from vehicles, car parts to avocados. Canadian Prime Minister Justin Trudeau has threatened retaliatory tariffs on things like orange juice and steel. President Trump also says he plans on, quote, doing something substantial with tariffs on the European Union. Honda is recalling almost 300,000 vehicles because of the engines. They could stall or lose power. The automaker says it's because of a software issue. The recall affects certain 2022 to 2025 Acura MDX Type S vehicles, 23 to 25 Honda Pilots, and 2021 to 25 Acura TLX Type S vehicles. Honda and Acura dealers will update the software free of charge. If you have an affected model, you will get a notice in the mail as well in March. Well, music's biggest night returns to TV Sunday with comedian Trevor Noah hosting the Grammys. The ceremony will air live from Los Angeles with an impressive list of performers. My girl Beyonce is adding to her all-time record number of nominations with 11. Kendrick Lamar, Charlie XCX, and Billie Eilish have 7 each. The ceremony will help raise funds as well for those impacted by the LA area wildfires. The Grammys will air Sunday night at 7 p.m. right here on CBS and also stream on Paramount+. Still ahead with the Groundhog Day nearly here, what a Wisconsin zoo without one is using as a substitute this year. Plus, with so many groundhogs out there, which ones can we actually trust? Believe it or not, there's a recent study that will put their talent to the test, and we'll let you know how that works. Also, is it record or near record warmth expected over the weekend? Alex has our complete forecast when we return.
You're watching News 3 Now at 6.
It is that time of year. This Sunday is Groundhog Day, a time when the rodents ceremoniously emerge from their burrow to determine whether or not we'll have a long winter or an early spring. But with so many famous groundhogs around the country, some of you may wonder which of them is the best. Well, thanks to the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration, we now know the answer, believe it or not. Recently, the agency ran a study on 19 groundhogs, ranking them based on accuracy over the past 20 years. Great idea, using the March temperature averages. At number 1, Staten Island Chuck came out the top hog at 85% accuracy. Georgia's General Bureau Guard Lee finished second at 80%. Meanwhile, Sun Prairie Jimmy just missed out on the top 5, finishing 6th. Pretty impressive, with an accuracy of 60%. As for Punxsutawney Phil, he's got some ground to make up, finishing in the bottom 3 at 17%. 35%, I should say. And meanwhile, the Milwaukee Zoo is once again taking a different approach to Groundhog Day. For the second year in a row, another animal will be making the weather forecast. Look at this. This Sunday, the zoo's Nigerian dwarf goats. How cute. Well, they'll run out of their yard to make the long winter or early spring prognostication. That'll work. Just like with groundhogs, if the goats see their shadow, it'll mean 6 more weeks of winter, and if they don't, it's an early spring. Last year, the zoo's Humboldt penguins got this job. They were tasked with making the prediction. The zoo typically does use groundhogs, but the last one passed away back in 2023, and so far the zoo has yet to get another groundhog from a breeder licensed by the USDA. And as for today's weather, this viewer wants to know,
Hi, I'm Liv from campus. Alex, how's the weather?
Hey there, Liv. It's nice to meet you. How's the weather downtown on the campus? Mild for this time of year. Temperatures in the 30s, just a few clouds out there. And Liv, when we have just a few clouds, that allows the heat to go out to space. So it'll be a colder night downtown. So if you're going to be out and about downtown, Liv, just need to bundle up just a little bit. But it still will be mild for January values, end of January values, I should say. Now we turn our attention southern Wisconsin to those rain, snow showers later Saturday. That system will mostly eye up areas north of Madison, but heads up, next week is looking unsettled too. Here comes that snow knocking on the door of the Dells, Viroqua, Richland Center, Camp Douglas. By the time we get to Saturday at 1 o'clock, you can see the time up above my head over here. The snow shower activity really eyeing up Richland Center to, let's say, over towards Columbia County to over towards Juneau. Better chances for snow showers north in central Wisconsin. We can't rule out, though, when you don't have snow or mixed precipitation falling from the sky, that is a setup for freezing drizzle that we could have over southwest and south central Wisconsin during the overnight hours on Saturday, leading us into Groundhog's Day Sunday. We will eventually break into partly sunny skies a little bit later on Sunday. Depending on when we can break into those sunny skies will make a big difference in how warm we get on Sunday. Snowfall amounts, really nothing from Madison. It points to the south, maybe an inch up towards the Dells and maybe 2 up towards central Wisconsin. So this is not going to be a big snowmaker. But I said I'd give you a heads up during the 5 o'clock newscast as we go into the Wednesday time frame. Both our European friends and our American weather models are pretty consistent at showing a mixed bag of precipitation on Wednesday. A mix of rain, freezing rain, sleet, and some snow. How much snow are we talking? Not a whole lot. And the reason why between both models here are indicating that we have a greater chance of seeing rain mixed with some freezing rain and sleet, as it looks like at this point in time on Wednesday. We could even have a little bit of thunder on Wednesday as well. Current temperatures, though, out there, if you're wondering, well, what is it out there right now, Alex? 34 in Madison, still 43 in low 40s in southwestern Wisconsin. As I was mentioning, to live downtown, 34 right now, and a sprinkle of 33s, 34s, and 35s. Planning the rest of our evening in Madison, which is the same as downtown, will be in the 30s over the evening hours tonight with partly cloudy skies. Temperatures in the teens overnight, and high temperatures tomorrow will make it into the 30s and beyond that. Again, we have our Groundhog's Day forecast. I think Jimmy is probably going to see Jimmy's shadow, or not going to see Jimmy's shadow on Sunday, because we'll have those clouds. And again, just like Liv, if you want to send me your video and if you want to get your personal weather forecast, you can send it to me through channel3000.com or the First Warn Weather app. You can also Facebook message me or tips@channel3000.com. And when you record it, just let me know your name, where you are, and just say, hey, Alex, how's the weather?
And we have breaking news out of Philadelphia right now. An investigation is underway after a small plane crashed into a neighborhood there. Police say 2 people were on board. It's unclear if they were able to eject or escape. There are several injuries on the ground and multiple homes on fire in that area. Please stay tuned to News 3 Now and channel3000.com as we get the updates on this story. We're back after this.